Happy Halloween and welcome to Wildcat News. Tonight's edition will feature a celebration of the Dia de los Muertos, spooky critters, news on the Artemis Project, and more. Get ready to celebrate Halloween with us when we come back in just a moment.
The Utah Division of Wildlife Resources says that November is the most common month to hit a deer while driving. While fencing and safe wildlife crossing along busy highways has reduced the amount of roadkill in the past, as of October 17th, 3,000 deer have been killed on Utah roads. Deer are reported to be most active during dawn and dusk, the same time most of us are commuting to and from work. Wild Aware Utah offers these tips to help you avoid collisions. Be especially alert this time of year. Do not drive distracted. When possible, use high beam headlights. And be aware that many animals travel in groups, so be sure to watch for more deer if you see one. If you do hit a deer or other animal, do not approach it. Call 911 if you are injured or the animal poses a threat to public safety.
From now until November 22nd, Weber State University students can donate menstrual products to the Women's Center for anyone who needs them. Jessica Kroc teamed up with the Women's Center at Weber State to combat what they believe shouldn't be a taboo subject.
It might be uncomfortable for some people, but we're also raising awareness through Instagram Reels with the Women's Center, along with our own personal accounts. And we are talking about topics. We're talking about the topics like pink tax and what that is, and the taboo and history behind menstruation, and just some FAQs if you need to go to the doctor, if there's something abnormal. Just things and resources that women need if they're too afraid to speak up and say, hey, I think there's something wrong with me and I just don't know where to start.
Students can donate pads, tampons, and other feminine hygiene products to any blue or pink boxes around campus. The boxes can be located in the Shepherd Union Building, the Student Involvement and Leadership Offices, Elizabeth Hall, Tracy Hall, and the library. For more information, visit the Women's Center Instagram page.
It's hard to miss the sounds of construction while walking around Weber State University Ogden campus. These loud sounds are coming from the current construction being done in order to rebuild the McKay Education Building. Here's Gretel Monjar with an update on the construction.
I'm currently standing outside the David O. McKay Building, which is one of the many construction sites on the Ogden campus of Weber State University. This construction process was started in May of 2023, and it will renovate the building to be more seismically safe and include more natural light and better collaboration space for students.
We just wanted more for our students and for our faculty, so it was time. It was time to renovate.
The building was originally built in 1972, and as common for buildings built during that time period, it did have asbestos inside.
Doesn't mean that the building was unsafe. For asbestos to be dangerous, it has to be what we call friable, meaning become airborne and breathed in. So if it was in tile, or if it was in paint, or even if it was in ceiling tile, it's just not that big of a deal until you start tearing into it. And then it has to be treated very, very carefully.
Rising costs of construction have made the price tag of this project significantly heftier than expected.
$49 million is what it's going to ultimately cost us to renovate the education building. And we are just so grateful to the state of Utah and the legislature specifically for providing the funding for this project.
The project is set to finish in December of 2024, which is a quick time period for a project of this size.
It's a very aggressive schedule, and we've got our challenges making that happen, but we're going to give it the old college try.
I'm Gretel Monjar reporting for Wildcat News.
WSU students are still excited to celebrate Halloween. Here's Par Karmani with more on how WSU and its students are celebrating Halloween this year.
I'm currently standing outside the David O. McKay building, which is one of the many construction sites on the Ogden campus of
From costume contests to haunted houses or corn mazes, Utahns have a number of ways they celebrate Halloween. At Weber State University, we asked students and faculty what their plans were for Halloween, how they celebrated it, and what their favorite Halloween movie is.
By hanging out with my friends.
I don't really have plans. I really want to go around to like abandoned, haunted places just to explore. I love exploring like derelict, completely ruined structures.
I love to dress up. I love to hand out candy to trick-or-treaters.
Do you have any Halloween superstitions?
Yeah, if you see a black cat, that's bad luck.
But superstitions in my family, honestly, like my grandma does not leave the house on Friday the 13th. It's kind of funny.
My favorite Halloween movie is Coraline.
Oh, that's hard. Probably Trick or Treat. That one's a really good one.
And while students have their way of celebrating Halloween this year, faculty have also been planning activities around the campus, and this is how they celebrate Halloween.
So at the Women's Center and the LGBT Resource Center, we try to do some kind of Halloween-themed event. We decorate our center every year because we as staff think it's really fun and like to participate in that kind of bonding exercise together. We also think it's really fun for the students to come in and see that. We had an event this October called Monsters in Media, where our student team put together a presentation and discussion around stereotypes in horror films and the impacts of those, and also great things in horror films. It was a really great discussion. It went really well. We're really proud of them for that event. Actually, on Halloween, the Women's Center will be participating in an event that the WSUSA leaders are putting on. It's kind of a trick-or-treating around campus, and so we'll have snacks and candy here and be a place that trick-or-treaters can come on Halloween on campus.
I'm Park Hermione at Weber State University for Wildcat News.
Thanks, Par. It sounds like WSU is really excited as a campus to celebrate Halloween this spooky season. Let's take a quick look to see how WSU's Hispanic community is celebrating the season. Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is a pre-Hispanic Mexican tradition generally celebrated in the central and south part of Mexico. The holiday is held on November 2nd. Family members gather together to celebrate their loved ones who have passed and those living.
So the message that is want to be transmitted through Day of the Dead is that this is not a celebration of death. It's a celebration of life itself, and how we have to always remember the people that is gone and the people that is coming. Please don't ever, please remember everyone that has been long gone, and enjoy everyone that is around you.
Weber State held its own Day of the Dead celebration. It was a lively celebration. Students performed songs and danced. Attendees would decorate skulls, get their face painted, and see ofrendas.
Federal employees across the country, including the IRS here in Ogden, are bracing for another possible government shutdown. In September, Democrats and Republicans were able to come together and fund the government, temporarily using a stopgap measure. After the temporary bill passed, the Republicans ousted House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and spent most of October clashing over who would be the new Speaker of the House. On October 25th, Republicans unanimously voted to elect Mike Johnson as the new Speaker. Johnson is a far-right conservative who is known as a vocal opponent to the LGBTQ rights and supports most extreme anti-abortion laws. Johnson also supported a Texas lawsuit to overturn the 2020 election results. He has served 4 terms in the House. More on the story as negotiations begin to unfold. Another mass shooting has rocked the nation. 18 people were killed at a bowling alley in a restaurant in Lewiston, Maine on October 25th. The shooter was identified as Robert Card, an Army reservist. The New York Army National Guard said that they received reports from Card's battalion that they were concerned about his behavior during training. Card's relatives had similar sentiments and told investigators that Card said he was hearing voices and was obsessed with the bowling alley and restaurant. After a wide-scale manhunt, Card's body was found at the recycling facility he worked at on October 27th. The cause of death was determined by police to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Beloved sitcom star Matthew Perry was found dead on October 28th in what police are reporting as a drowning. He was 54 years old. Perry was best known for starring as Chandler Bing in the 6-time Emmy award-winning 90s sitcom Friends. More recently, he released a memoir on his life before, during, and after his run on the show, including detailing his long struggle with substance addiction. While police are not looking at the death as suspicious, they're continuing the investigation to determine possible factors on what led to Perry's drowning.
Now, let's get into some spooky local news here in Ogden. First, let's take it to Hannah Moore to hear about the local candy shop in Ogden where you can get your Halloween treats.
While driving along Washington Boulevard here in Ogden, you may have noticed it looks a little bit different. That's because co-owner Flor Lopez has opened up her shop, Little Rainbow Candy Shop. And it sure is a little rainbow here in the skies of Ogden.
We opened on January 6th of this year. For us, has been very important because we want to bring traditions from different countries to this to Ogden. And in our candy shop, we integrate candies from Mexico, Colombia, Cuba, Peru, Japan, and different countries. We're trying to cover all a little bit of the Latin America.
Recently, the store had artist Leon Araujo, aka Noise Explosion, paint a mural on each side of the store representing Latinx and Aztec culture.
The mural that I did, one side, the north side, is an Aztec god, Tlaloc, which is the god of rain and thunder. And the south side features the Ogden Union Station, the Ogden sign, the municipal building, and the train that came in from the north meeting the other train coming in from the south. It was a really cool piece that I haven't gotten to work with, and it's in a historic building, which kind of gave us a little bit of hiccups getting permits and going through all the legality things that we had to go through. But it worked out really well, and after months of fighting, we managed to get it installed and approved. And to celebrate, I invited the community, and we had about 50 to 60 people that joined us and painted the Tlaloc, which is the Aztec god, and on the north side of the building. And it was just
grateful for the work Leon did. Flor explains.
For us, be available to rehabilitate the building because it's a historic building is very important. So that is why Leo, with his work, was very important part on this project because we went through landmark commission for 6 months. He represented the art, he explained what he wants to do, and I want to integrate a part from Mexico and also a part from Ogden, which that is one of the sites.
Be sure to stop by the candy shop to treat yourself to some sweet joy and look at the beautiful murals on the sides of the building by Leon. He is sure to do many more murals in Ogden as years come, and this little candy shop is sure to leave its mark. I'm Hannah Moore with Wildcat News.
In some pressing news of the world of non-spooky science, here's an update on NASA's Artemis mission. NASA will land the first woman and person of color on the moon in the year 2025. The program's Artemis namesake is derived from the Greek goddess of the moon, Artemis. She's also the twin sister of Apollo, whose name was also used for the program that gave us our first walk on the moon in 1969. NASA explains that the Artemis mission is a 3-part plan. The first step, Artemis 1, was already launched November 16, 2022. During this phase, NASA launched an unmanned SLS rocket to perform a lunar orbit and return to Earth. The second step, Artemis 2, will be underway in the year 2024. NASA will carry 4 Artemis astronauts in the craft's Orion capsule farther than any human has ever traveled before. The astronauts will perform a lunar flyby and return. They plan for this to be a 10-day mission. The last step, Artemis 3, will be done in the year 2025. This mission will be the long-anticipated landing of the capsule on the moon in its southern polar region. The next man and first woman will step onto the lunar surface and remain there for about a week. NASA's goal for the project include scientific discovery, potential economic benefits, and to inspire the new generation of explorers. They have dubbed the new generation the Artemis generation. With commercial and international partners, they plan to establish the first long-term presence on the moon. Once they learn everything around and on the moon, they plan to take the giant leap towards Mars.
In news regarding the 2024 presidential race, former Vice President Mike Pence dropped his bid for the Republican presidential nomination. Pence struggled to gain support during his campaign because former President Donald Trump still has a tight grip on the Republican Party. Pence's team also said that raising money for the campaign was another challenge. Pence said he has no regrets and it's just not his time.
Now let's get back in the spirit and buckle in because we will now be digging deep into one of Ogden's spookiest features. Historic 25th Street is an amazing tourist attraction filled with crazy rumors. Rumors like secret underground tunnels. Are they real? What were they used for? Many people swear they exist while others say it's just a silly story. The original owner of the gift house, Scott Van Leeuwen, has been working on the street for 25 years. He has access to the tunnels and has been in them himself.
I have a basement now. It goes, the tunnel would go that way, east or west, depending on which way it started. And it goes for about 4 stores.
Gift house to the Lighthouse Lounge, an underground passageway connects them all. The rumors say that when they were built, the tunnels were used for prostitution and drug smugglers. Scott says that there's another reason for the tunnels.
I think what it may have been used for is back in the early days when they were bootlegging whiskey and selling illegal whiskey, they'd probably get raided, and the way to get rid of all the evidence was to move it next door to the next store.
Although people swear that these tunnels are proof of an underground city, Scott doesn't think so. Ogden has gone through many renovations, but no proof of an underground city was found. Many people who work on 25th Street say that they were only passageways and nothing more.
WSU students should keep their eyes peeled for a glimpse of creepy crawlers that come out at this time of year. Keep an eye out for spooky spiders. It's tarantula's mating season, but these critters aren't looking for a scare. There are 4 species of tarantula in Utah. All of them serve as an important role as both predator and prey in a healthy ecosystem. They are rarely seen because most of the time they spend their life underground in burrows, but the males leave their homes in search for females in the fall. They may look spooky, but tarantulas are completely harmless to humans. Keep an eye out in the sky when you're out on Halloween night because bats are also looking for a treat. For more on these misunderstood creatures of the night, we turn our time over to Hannah Moore.
Hey guys, it's spooky season here in Ogden, and that means 3 things. 1, we like to look at spooky creatures. 2, it's getting colder outside and the snow's gonna start coming soon. And 3, bats are about to go into hibernation. Bats are super commonly misunderstood because of their cultural significance and negative taboos from folklore and scary stories like Dracula. But did you know that Utah has 18 species of bats? Our most common bat is the big brown bat.
Let's hear from Ogden Nature Center's Conservation Director Maya Pendleton on why bats are misunderstood.
So bats have a lot of negative connotation just simply because they're very poorly understood. A lot of animals like birds are around in the day. We can see them, we can study them. Bats have always been notoriously difficult to study because they are tiny. They live in places that we can't go, like little rock crevices, so we really don't know what they're doing. And then they come out at night when we can't really see them, and so people are just afraid of the unknown.
Not to mention vampires, but with the season changing, the bats are about to enter into their hibernation. And it is important to know what to do if you come across a bat this winter. Professor Michelle Skopek explains to us that.
All right, so bats are small flying mammals, and because they are so small and fly, they have super high metabolisms. And if they don't migrate, so a lot of bats are migratory and will migrate south in the winter. If they don't migrate, they're going to need to hibernate because they need to conserve energy since their food source will not be available throughout the winter.
Maya says that if someone were to come across a bat, they should be careful about how they interact with the creature because while they are not typically dangerous, they may still carry rabies or diseases.
Okay, if you were to ever come across a bat in real life, pretty much with all wildlife, the general rule of thumb is to leave it alone. Do not touch it, especially if it is out in the day, and especially if it's doing something weird, like kind of crawling around on the ground. That is a good sign that that is something might be up with that bat. And although less than 1% of all wild bat populations carry rabies, it's still a good idea to know that if any type of wildlife is trying to get close to you or acting strange, to not touch it. Instead, what you would do...
Be sure to look into the sky tonight, and you might see a bat flying by. I'm Hannah Moore, with Wildcat News.
Now we will talk about something a little less scary and a little more scientific. Rumor has it that the local hotspots just off of Ogden River hold radioactive materials. Free ions, which essentially mean traces of lithium, uranium, and arsenic, were found in water samples taken by WSU students last year. The levels of radiation are most likely low, but they haven't been officially tested. Check back in for a more in-depth report on what this means next week.
Have you ever wondered about some of the spookier history behind historic 25th Street? Taking a walking ghost tour may have all the answers you're looking for. This tour takes a walk down the east side of 25th Street to explore Ogden's secret tunnels, secret Ogden kept in the 1930s, and a couple of notorious buildings where mysterious incidences continue to occur to this day.
I really liked the old lady. She was very nice. And she was fun. She talked good.
Until Halloween night, this tour is still going for $25 per adult on Fridays and Saturday nights from 9:30 to 11:30. This tour is fun and full of spooky surprises for locals and tourists alike. Bringing the spooky show to a close, here's Grace Haglin with a story on Black Island Farms.
Today we're going to be heading to Black Island Farms for some family Ogden fun. Here we go!
Black Island Farms was established in 2005 and quickly became the biggest corn maze in Utah. As we came inside, we discovered this corn maze is for all ages, and with its petting zoo, a slide, and a pumpkin patch. Before we entered the maze itself, employee Riley Edwards explains why this farm is truly for everyone.
I think it's just like a fun way to spend the evening. There's a lot of activities to do and just plenty of things to just have a good time.
Customer Lam Wen also had some thoughts about why this farm in particular is so unique.
I like corn maze.
You like the pumpkin guy?
I like Lewis.
Overall, Black Island Farms was such a fun experience. There's so much to offer here for families, date nights, and more.
Prices range from $11 to $30 if you want to do the Haunted Maze experience. This was perfect for this season and I can't wait to go back next year. I'm Grace Haglin reporting from WSU News. Back to you guys.
Now that we are properly dressed for tonight's festivities, I think it might be time to go trick-or-treating. How about you, Leo?
Honestly, Lexi, I think I might actually go this year.
There you go.
My name is Leo Beck.
And I'm Lexi Andrew. That's all for tonight's show, made by Wildcats.
For Wildcats.
Good night.